Yeah. Is my voice is audible? Uh, can anyone confirm? Is my voice is audible, right? Hello. Yeah. Am I audible? Vicky, am I audible? Okay, fine. So let us go to the today's class. Okay. So welcome to JP Study Circle. So today we'll be discussing about some basic transformations in Power Query. And in yesterday's class, we have discussed about how to load the data into Power Query. And we have seen how to install the Power BI desktop into the system. We have seen about Power BI architecture. Okay. And apart from that, we have seen about some options which are there in the home tab, like how to connect to the news source, how to connect to the recent sources, what is the use of this enter data. And we have seen about what is the difference between refresh preview and refresh all. Okay. So with the continuing of that particular class, we'll discuss about some more transformation that we do in the Power Query. Okay. So coming to this, we have an option called as choose columns. What is the use of this four option that we'll be discussing today? What is choose columns? What is remove columns? Keep rows, remove rows. So how this options will be useful for doing the transformations that we'll be discussing now. Okay. Coming to the choose columns. Okay. Suppose I am selected this order table and come to this column called as choose column. Okay. So if I select on the choose column, it will show what are the different types of the columns which are there in this particular table. Okay. So you can see all the tables which are in this particular table, how many columns are there? Those columns are reflecting over here. When I select this particular column over here, when I unselect that column, so out of all the columns which are there in this particular table, if I want only first three columns, that is row ID, order ID, and order date. Select those columns and click on OK. See, you will be able to see those particular three columns over here. Okay. So this is the use of the choose column, that you can choose out of all the columns which are there in your table. And if you want to select only few columns, like the selected column, that you can select and click on OK, and those columns will be appearing over here. And you can ask me how we can go back to the previous step. You can go back to the previous step by clicking on this, and you will be getting back to the previous step. Now, again in the choose column, let us see another choose column once again in this choose column. So by default, all the columns will be selected. It is represented in the form of green color. I am selecting this, and out of all these columns, I want only one column called as customer name. So come to the customer name, select the customer name column and click on OK. Then you will get the column name as customer. Okay, this is how. So to go for every step that you perform in the Power Query, I already said you have, see, applied steps. In the applied step, one step will be recorded. And if you want to go one step back, simply you can click on remove column, this untick it, you can go back to the previous column. So this is how you can able to see, you can go back to the previous column like this. Now, my requirement is, this is the particular data. Out of this, let me go to in the choose columns, we have another option called as go to columns. Now, when you closely observe this, you have different type of the rows over here, right? In this particular table, consider this as an order table. In this orders table, you have different types of the columns are there. My requirement is, out of these columns, I want to go to any specific column. Say maybe it is as some state column. I want to go to the state column. So in that situation, you can go to the choose columns and you can click on this go to columns. Okay. Once you click on the go to columns, see, you will see this row ID, these tables, these columns are arranged as per the tables which are there in the data, row ID, order ID, and order date. My requirement, I want to go to the state column. You can come here, just click on the state and click on OK. See, directly you will be going to the state column. Okay. So again, in the choose column, I want to go to the region column. Okay. Instead of state column, I want to go to the region column. Just you can click on the go to column. So you can search where is the region over here. Select the region and click on OK. Then you will go into the region column. But it's okay, you have some only few number of columns, like we have 10 to 15 columns. Then you can able to search from the choose two columns. You can go and see where is the region column. But in the real time, what happens, you'll be working on some bigger data where you have some lakhs of rows. In that context, finding the specific column will become some difficult for you. So how you can handle this situation? Just same, you can go to the choose two columns. In the choose two columns, you can go to the go to columns. Okay. See here, by default, this is arranged as per in the data region, product ID, region, order ID. So as per this, it will be arranged. See, if I go here and if you move somewhat left, see, row ID. As per this order, you can see in these go to columns. The choose columns, if I click on the choose to columns and go to columns. So these columns are arranged as per there in the table, like auto ship mode, customer ID. You can see here ship mode, customer ID, customer name. So if you want to sort it alphabetically, you can sort this here A to Z. So natural order means by default how the data is there in the table. In that way, the data will be arranged. But if you sort by name, if you click on name, these columns will be arranged in the form of some alphabetic order. So I'm clicking on the name over here. See, these are arranged in the alphabetic order. See, because with the column with the letter A and B, we don't have any columns. So we have C, D. Now, if I want to go to the region column, okay, directly I can come to the R alphabet and I can click on OK. Just you will go to the region column over here. Okay. Same, choose two columns over here. Go to columns. By default, when you see here, it is in the natural order. Go to name, it will be arranged alphabetic order. Now, if I want to go to the ship mode, directly I can come to this ship mode, letter yes, and click on ship mode, and we can go to that particular column, ship mode. So this is how, because sorting the order is very important, because here we have only few columns. It is no matter, like if you don't sort also you can find easily. But in the real time, if you work, your data is having some lakhs of rows or some hundreds of rows. In that condition, when you use go to columns, so it is recommended for you to sort that in alphabetic order instead of this natural order. Or if you remember that particular column, instead of sorting, you are confident that you can remind that you remember that particular column. Suppose sales column, just type as sales. Okay, that column will appear. Select that sales column and okay, you'll be going to the sales column. See. So this is the either way, that these are two or three ways where you can go to the particular column. Okay, that is difference between the choose column and go to column. And when you come here and beside that, you have an option called as remove columns. Okay. Why? What is the name? The name itself indicates if you want to remove that any particular column from the table, you go for that remove column. Okay. Remove other column means there is a difference between remove column and remove other column. So they will ask in the interview, remove column means the column that you select over here. When you select any column and click on the remove column, the selected column will be removed. And when you select few columns and click on remove other columns, the selected columns will remain, and other than that columns, what are the columns other than the selected columns, that columns will be deleted. We call that as remove other columns. So let us see how here I will select, this is my requirement. I want to delete the first two columns, row ID and order ID. I don't want this columns in this particular table. So in that condition, what you will do is just select on control and select these two columns. Okay. Now, when you click on remove, when you click on this remove columns, the first one, you have said what columns that you have selected, those columns will be deleted. That means row ID and order ID will be deleted. See, let us see if you click on remove column. See, row ID and first two columns are deleted. And you can see over here, for every transformation that you make in the Power Query, that transformation will be recorded as a step in the applied steps. Okay. And when you want to go back to the previous step, then you can just remove this applied step, this last step from the applied step. You can go back to the previous. That is called as remove rows. Rows means the columns that you selected will be deleted and other columns will remain. That is called as remove columns. But my requirement is different. Now, out of all these columns, I will select from few columns like row ID, I will select order ID and order date. I want to select. I have selected this. Now I will come to remove other columns. What is the meaning of remove other columns? That means the columns that you have selected will remain. The columns other than the selected column will get deleted. So if I click on remove other columns, row ID, and order date will remain. And the columns other than these columns will get deleted. This we call it as remove other columns. See. Sorry, like I control what happens. See, I have selected row ID, order date, order. These three have selected. Okay. Now I will click on remove other columns. If I click on remove other columns, what happens? The columns selected will remain. Row ID, order date. This will remain, and remaining data will get deleted. See, click on remove other columns. See, row ID, order date. These three columns that you have selected will remain. Other columns get removed. So for that also, see, it has created one step, removed other columns. And whatever the steps that you perform, and backend it is writing one code in the Power Query. That code we call it as mashup language, or we can call it as same code. See, it has row ID. So what columns it has deleted? The selected column is row ID, order date, order ID. These columns will be removed, and removed other columns. One step is created. Now, if I want to go back to the previous step, just close it, and you will get the entire data. So that is the difference between what is choose columns. That means choose columns, go to columns. They will ask, what is the difference between remove column and remove other columns? So yesterday, due to some issues like in my Excel, I am not able to refresh the data. I have explained the things like refresh preview and refresh all. So what is meant by the difference between refresh preview and refresh all? In the yesterday class that I have explained, refresh preview means the selected columns. If I select this particular order table and I click on refresh preview, what happens? Only the selected column will get refreshed. So by any chance, if any new data is added or any new data is added at the backend, suppose this data, think it as a dynamic data. Think you have 2014 data up to 2014 to 2017 data. But before you are connecting to this particular data, like see in 2026 tomorrow or today in the morning, some data is added from 2017 to 2026 at the backend. So we have stored the data. This file, this Excel file we have taken from the desktop, right? So go and update some data, like add some additional 100 records or 1000 records at the back. But now if you want to see that 100 records over here, it is not mandatory that you can go to the new source and you need to go and connect to this Power BI desktop again, load the data, and that is not required. Just you can come here, and click on refresh all. If you click on refresh all, the entire tables, the entire data will be get refreshed. The data which is present in all the tables will be refreshed. That means it will refresh the entire report. But my requirement is, I don't want to refresh the people table and returns table. I want to refresh only the orders table. The selected column should refresh. That is my requirement. In that condition, you can select refresh preview. Refresh preview means only the selected table will be get refreshed. Click on the refresh preview. See, the selected table only, it will get refreshed. So what is the difference when you go for refresh preview and when you go for refresh all? Here you have only three tables. It will not make that much difference when you select refresh all or refresh preview because the data size is less. But in the real time, you work on a data, you work on some big data where you have some hundreds of columns and we have some lakhs of rows. And in that condition, like if you have 100, if you click on refresh all, and at the back end, it will start, it will go and refresh your data. When you click on refresh preview or refresh all, what it will be? It will go to the source. and check any records. It will scan entire records. If any new records are added, and it will come and it will refresh here at again. So to do at the scanning level at the back end, it will take some time, right? So that's why if you're working on some big data, if you are enough confident, suppose you have loaded 10 tables, you are enough confident that out of these 10 tables, only data in these two tables are changing. The data where the tables in the particular tables where the data is changing frequently, we call those as dynamic tables that I discussed yesterday. There are few tables where the data inside the tables will not be refreshed frequently. That tables we call it as static table, I have said yesterday. So we'll try to refresh every time only dynamic tables because data is changing frequently. In the same way, like it will save your time of refreshing, right? So out of some tables, see order table, definitely if you open a real-time data, you can consider this order table as a dynamic table because see for every order they are making, it is creating some order ID. The order, when they have ordered that particular order, when they are shipped, because every time the transaction will happen, every transaction will record order ID. When they ordered, when the ship date, when they have shipped, because this is a dynamic table. So we can consider this as a dynamic table and you need to refresh that table frequently if the client is demanding the latest data. So that is the difference between refresh preview and refresh all that already we have discussed in the yesterday's class. Now after that, let us discuss about what is difference between keep rows and remove rows. Okay, there are the two options which are there. The options we call it as what is the difference between keep rows, okay, and remove rows. Okay, what is the difference? Like, what is the meaning of this keep rows? Keep rows. So suppose you have the orders table. In this orders table, how many rows do you have? Okay, you have the lot of rows. Like, let me check here. Yeah, think that you have the rows of 9,900 rows, like the lot of rows are there. My requirement is, what is my requirement? Just see, 9,900 plus. You can see how many columns. If you want to see how many columns and how many rows are there in particular table, it is having 21 columns and 999 plus rows. Okay, so this is the data. Now my requirement is of out of this particular data, I will go to the keep rows and I want to have only top 10 rows, keep top 10 rows. Just you can click on top 10, top rows. In the keep top rows, if you select any rows like 10 or 11 or 12. So my requirement is I want to see only top 10 rows. Just keep the number as 10 and click on OK. So out of all the rows that you can see able, only top 10 rows will be visible over here. Okay. This is how you can see the data. Now, if you want to change anything, okay, now you have sorted top 10 rows. Again, now in the same way, I want to select not top 10 rows. I want the top 20 rows. So in order to edit that, you have in this option, the applied steps, you can find this gear icon. You can see the gear symbol, right? Just click on this gear icon and you can see this top 10. Now I want top 20 rows. Just change the number as 20 and click on OK. So you will get in the top 20 rows over here. So that is called as keep rows. Okay. You can keep top 10 rows to 10 rows. Okay. So I will, if you want to go to the previous step, that you can click on this and you can go back to the previous step. Now in the same keep rows, there is an option called as keep bottom rows. Okay. There's an option called keep bottom rows. So my requirement is I don't want the top 10 rows. My requirement is I want a bottom 20 rows. Just you click on 20 and just click on OK. See, bottom. We have the bottom 20 rows over there. See, bottom 20 rows. See how you can see the row ID, you can see that bottom 20. The total it has 994 columns. Okay. So 9,975 to 9,994. That are the 20 columns. So the last rows will be, we have data, last 20 rows. Just you want to show only last 10 rows over here. Just have to select the gear icon and click on OK. You can able to see the last 10 rows. See, you can see here the numbers 1 to 10. So 99852 99994 that you can see that keep last rows. And if you want to remove the steps, you can remove the steps and you can go back to the previous step. Now in the same way, keep range of rows. That means I don't want the top rows, I don't want the bottom rows. I want a range of rows like 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, middle some 10 rows. In middle, I want to have some rows like 10 to 50, 15 to 30 like this. So if you want to some set of rows from between in middle in this particular table, in that condition, you can go to the keep range of rows over here. So I want to first row, starting from which row I want, starting from this 10th row, just this 10th row I want, starting from 10th, I want some 10 rows. Starting from 10, I want 10 rows I want. Just click on OK. See, starting row ID 10th. From that, it will count 10 rows. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, starting from the 10th, it will count the 10 rows. From 10 to 19, if you count, you have 10 rows. So, that means you can able to sort some set of rows in particular table. So, if I and my requirement is I want 20. Starting from 20, I want 10 rows. So just if I want to edit, so you have some option called as this gear icon, which will be visible over here at the right end. So starting from 20, I want only 5 rows. That means 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Just click on OK. See, starting from 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count here. 5 rows is there. Row ID starting from 20. I want 5 rows, 25. So this is how you can able to see the keep set of rows, range of rows. Okay. Now keep duplicate. There is an option called as duplicate. Suppose there are some duplicates in your data. Okay. When I see to the region, so region, say I select the region. Okay. If I want to sort ascending, just sort ascending. See, central, it is many having this many duplicates. So every region has duplicates values over here. Okay, central you have duplicates and many duplicates are there in this particular data. Okay, you have the duplicates. Now what I want to see south is repeated many times, west is repeated too many times. Okay, so if I select this particular table, okay, in this uh, uh, in this particular table, there is in the keep rows. If I want to click on this keep duplicates, okay, so only the duplicate data, which every data where you find the duplicates, only the duplicates data will be appear over here. Okay, that means you will find same entire data will be there because for entire data for all this the duplicates are there. South is repeated 100 times, west is repeated many times. That means only the data which you will have the duplicates it will be removed. So in this states, if you go to the another column, like if you want only duplicates, like better I can select the customer names over here. There are some customer names which are duplicated. There are the customer names which are not duplicated. Okay. So in that condition, in the keep rows, if I want to click on the duplicate rows, okay. See only this which and if I sort here, you can better understand. If I select this data sort ascending, so see this Iran Begum, this is duplicate this many times. So any data which is duplicated that will be coming over here, settle over here. And remaining, if you have some names in the customer name, like say Janardhan, it is not repeated any times. It is present only unique, only once. So that data will not appear over here. The reason being you have selected keep duplicates. In case if any in that data, if it is present, if any particular customer name, if it is present more than once, only that customer names will be appearing over here. In case if the customer's name is present only single time, that will not consider as a duplicate and that particular data will not appear in the customer name. Reason being, we have selected keep duplicates. We have selected the keep duplicates. Now remove for sorting means I want to just show you whether your option is working fine or not, whether you have argum duplicate, the duplicate names are there. So if we sort, then you can able to see, yes, it is sorting the duplicate names and it is keeping the duplicate names. For your understanding, I have sorted the rows. Okay. Now, if you want to remove this, you can cross check, keep the duplicates, you can remove this. Now, by chance, if you have any report in this particular column, this report, this column is very clean. But in by chance there may be some in particular column or in particular any table or in any particular columns, there are some errors are there, and the client want to see what type of the errors are there, in which column and in which column particular errors are there, and you want to see, only that errors, highlight that errors. Okay, in that condition, because if you do manually, it is not manually. You can go column by column and you need to check, because 1,000 records we can't check, right? So because it is like a manual task. In that condition, how you can do? You can set this order table. Okay, this order table in the keep rows. You can try to click on keep errors. See, this table is empty. You are not getting any errors. Reason being, as this table is a clean table, you don't have any errors in the data. That's why you are getting the answer as this table is empty. That means this table is out of errors. But by any chance, some errors are there in the table. Like if you load any, connect to any raw data which is given by the client, at some columns, if you have some data where you are able to have, where you can find some errors and you want to spot out that errors, then you can click on this, come to the keep rows and click on keep errors. Then you can discuss with the client whether these are intentional errors. Intentional errors means by intentionally the client will give the errors because due to the lack of data. Or it may be data which is not availability, or while entering the data they have made the mistakes, or there may be change in the data types. Okay, in that condition the errors have happened. Then you need to fix the errors, because you need to find that errors and you need to speak to the clients whether these are intentional errors or whether these are non-intentional errors. If intentional errors, and we can leave it to the client, because there may be chance in the future the data may be added. But if it is not unintentional, you need to sort out, you need to speak to the data team. What is the reason for the errors? Is due to the data mismatch, or either data is not refreshing properly in the database. Okay, do you need to replace that errors with values like 0, or you need to refresh, you need to replace that errors with null values, or you need to replace that errors with some standard value that you need to discuss, you need to report to the data team and discuss with the client. Okay, this is how to spot the errors which are there in your report. You can come to the keep errors. Okay, now if you go back to this, you can click on this plus button and then you can go back to the previous step, right? Now, keep rows that we have discussed all options. So keep top rows, keep bottom rows, keep range rows, keep duplicates, and keep errors. So I will be moving here and there from home tab, transform tab, add column. But at the end of the class, you can able to see what type of every type of menu based options which are there in the Power Query. Then you can able to understand. We'll touch all the options which are there in this Power Query. Now, coming to the next topic, we call it as keep rows. We have discussed about remove rows. So this will be functioning exactly opposite to that other keep rows. So how this functions, how these options will work. Okay. So I want to remove, like we have the total rows 9,900 rows, right? If I want to select over here in the remove rows, okay, remove top rows. So I want to remove like top 10 rows I don't want. So I want the data starting from the 11th rows. You can click on 10 and click on OK. See, the top 10 rows will be removed. See, and row ID, we can see row ID is a continuous, right? So top 10 rows are removed and your data is coming from 11th. So starting from the 11th, it indicates you have removed the top 10 rows. So if you want to remove the 20 rows, okay, just click on OK. And oh, see, the data is starting from 21. So for every transformation that you're used by using the menu-based options, at the back end, it is writing a code. See, skip change data type code. That means it is skipping top 20 rows. So if in other tools, like we need to write this step in order to make the transformation. But in the Power Query, you are not writing any code. Just you are playing with the menu-based options, and this menu-based options are as simple as such a person from the non-technical background can understand, who have some knowledge, basic knowledge on English. But every transformation you need to understand that if it may be a complex option, at the back end, that Power Query will write the code by itself in M language. See, for skip change type 20. So it is skipping the 20 rows, but at the backend it is writing the code. So it is not necessary to learn the M code, but you need to understand how the steps are executing at the backend and how the changes are occurring at the backend. That common sense you need to understand so that it will be easy for fixing some bugs when you work on some huge data. Okay, remove other top rows that we have discussed. Now same, remove bottom rows. Okay, top row. In the bottom, I want to remove bottom 9,000 rows. We have only 999, right? Oh, but that much data is not there, right? So I want to remove. So just remove bottom rows. I will try to remove bottom 200 rows. See, bottom 200 rows is removed. How you can see? Just you can scroll down your data. Okay. As 9,900 is there, 990 is there. So in this case, what I will try to remove? The 8. Yeah. Bottom 900 I have removed. Yeah. In this condition, what? Let us see how many rows are there in this count rows. Then we can try to see. So let us see how many rows are there, exact count. To say, fine, suppose in that condition, you can able to understand. See, when I see in the home, go to the transform tab. My requirement is I want to count because if you drag manually, then it will take a lot of time. But as a smart work that you can do, you can go to the transform tab and click on count rows. Then it will give so totally 9094. 9094. Okay. This much count is there. 9094. So if you want to download like from the bottom, if you want to click like 94s or something or 9,000 or something, those data will be get removed. Only the starting the data will be appear over here. Okay. Just I will remove here. Remove the bottom rows. I will clear. Now in this type, remove rows. Remove the bottom rows. Now see. Now previously see how the count. If you want to see it in instead of dragging, before removing the trap, how many options are there? Now how many there? Just remember the count. 9994. Okay, this is the count it has. Now what I will do, I will go back. Now let us see good in the remove rows. Now remove bottom rows, right? Now I will try to clear 200 or I want to for 500 rows sample. Okay. Now click on OK. So it has give up. It has one step is created. Removed bottom rows. Okay. Now what I do now I want to see the count. How many count is there? To see that you can come to this transform tab, right? In the transform tab, you have an option called count rows. Now count the rows. 9494. See, instead previously it was 99994. It is there, right? Now 500 is removed. Then 9494. Okay. So here 500 count is coming less. What is the reason behind? Because you have seen it has removed some rows, right? When you go to the gear icon, you can see you have removed the bottom 500 rows. Okay. That's why the count is decreased. Okay. Here the count is decreased. Now see the count. Count is 9494. Now if I remove this step, what happens? You can go back to the previous step. Now come and see the count. What is the count? Now the count is it will come. Sorry, I step this this steps I need to be count rows. Yeah. Okay. This steps I will. Now you can go and see here the count. Now you will see the total count. What is the count? See 9994. The older count. Okay. So this is how, because instead of dragging, that is not a best practice because Suppose if you have this 9,000 columns, in the real time, you may have 1 or 10 or 13 lakhs. You cannot go and scroll, like it will take some hours. So in that way, you can see, and if your count rows, it is option is working perfect or not, you can come and go to the transfer tab. In that, you have an option called count rows. Then you can check the count rows over here. After reviewing whether your count, there is difference in the count. If it is fine, then it indicates that you are remove option that is working fine. Okay, that is as simple as such. Now, if you want to remove that step, you can click on the count rows, the cross button, then you can come. Now, in the remove columns, there is another option called remove alternate rows. So this you generally will not use. Remove alternate means it will keep one row and it will next remove other rows. It will keep, and like that it will see. Just you click on remove alternate rows. So first row to remove. Which row you want to remove actually? So the first row I want to remove the first row to remove. Like the I want to remove the third row from starting from third row. Starting from the third. Number of rows to remove. So starting from 3, I want to remove the four rows. Number of rows to keep. Starting from the first row to remove from the third. Number of rows to remove 4. And how many number of rows that you want to keep. I want to keep number of rows 3. See here, first, second, starting from the third rows, right? Starting from the third row, I want to remove fourth rows. That means third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So that means those rows are removed. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. That means 4 rows removed. Now I told I want to keep 3 rows. 3 rows means 7, 8, 9. See, 7, 8, 9 is in. So when you see here that you can understand better here. So first row to remove. Which row I want to remove? Third row, right? 1, 2. Where the third row is there, third row is not there. From the third row, you need to count from the starting from third row. After first 3 rows will be removed, and from the number from after first row to remove. So here, which row we have removed? Third, right? We have mentioned 3. So that 3 is removed. Now from after 3, he told like a number of rows to remove. And I want 4 rows to be removed. That means 4 it should remove. After 3, how many, what will come? 4, starting from the 3, first row to 3, 3 will be removed, 4 will be removed, 5 will be removed, 6 will be removed. So, see, you don't will find 3 is not there. That means number of 4s to remove, 4. 3, starting from 3, you need to count. 3 is removed, 4 is removed, 5 is removed, 6 is removed. That means 4 rows are removed. See, that's why the 4, you will not find 3, 4, 5, 6. Number of rows keeps. After that, 4 rows removed, now 7, starting from 7. And number of rows to keep. After that, I need to keep 3 rows. Okay, 7, 8, 9. Like that, it will able to count. Okay, but this type of the scenario, it will never come in the picture. But just for your as there is an option I'm explaining. First row means which row you want to remove, right? From start counting from that row, how many rows you have to keep? 4. Then the how many rows that you want to remove? 4 rows. 3 will go, 4 will go, 5 will go, 6 will go. Number of rows to keep. From 7, how many rows you need to keep? 3 rows. 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9. So that is called as remove alternate rows. Okay. But no client will ask that delete. I want the in a particular table, I want this first row. I don't want the second row, and I want the third row. That type of the typical scenario will never ask, never work in the real time. But this option is there inbuilt to the Power Query. That's why we are learning that. Okay. Now remove duplicates. Okay. If there are duplicates, now you can, this option will be helpful for you. So coming to this region table, you can see you have different type of the regions. South is repeating many times, west is repeating times. So wherever the duplicates there, I want to remove that. So all the duplicates will be removed, only the unique value. And for every duplicate, suppose south is repeated 100 times. If you click on remove duplicates, out all duplicates will be removed, and for the south only you will get one record. See, you can see the remove columns. Okay, in this particular remove columns, remove duplicates. See, south is repeated many times. If it is 100, all time will be removed and you will get only one record. So all that. Then in this, it will be helpful how many records are there generally. See, previously we have seen you have only 4 rows, right? But in the previous data for south is repeated some under 500 times, west is repeated 500 times, central is repeated 2 times. And what if in particular row, if it is repeated, it will remove the duplicates. And for every duplicate, maybe it may present 100 or 1000 times, and it will represent here only once. So this will be helpful for to find the row to remove the duplicates. Okay, that is called as to duplicates data. If any data is present in duplicate, it will remove. And if it present data is present only unique, only one time, that will remain here. So that is called as remove duplicates. Okay. So if I am removing this. Now remove duplicates, remove blank rows. If your data has having some blank rows, we don't have the blank rows over here. So you can click on remove blank rows. That blank rows, if any table or any column, if blank rows are there, it will be get removed. Now in the similar sense, you have the remove errors. So there is some requirement. The client say the errors are intentional. We are not worried about the errors. If you remove that errors also, it will not create any impact on my report. In that condition, you can speak to the clients and just click on remove errors, and whatever the column that you have the errors, that will be gone. So that is called as remove errors. Okay, this is because if you able to understand what is the use of this keep rows and exactly opposite, it will work. That only the thing additional one is remove alternate rows. But however, we'll not use this option in the real time. But for your interview purpose, they will ask in what way that the remove rows option used in the Power Query. You can say we have the subtypes. You can remove the top rows, bottom rows, alternate rows. You can remove the duplicates. You can remove the blank rows, and we can have the remove errors. Okay, this is how. Now, apart from this, you have other option called as split column, group by column. Okay, merge queries, append queries also. Now, as we are running short of time, let me have discuss with some topics which are some transformations or some options which are there in the view tab. Okay, and again we can come back to the home tab and see the option by option, like because merge and append query, it will take some 30 minutes. Split column, group by column, this will take 30 minutes because merge and append, split and group by will be discussing that tomorrow class, because this is very important. If they are planning at the interview want to check your knowledge in the Power Query, they will ask this question: what is the difference between merge and append? What is the difference between split and group by? These two are very important. Because why I am saying these are important, this will find you regularly. You can use this in your real-time project, this type of understand the split column, group by, merging the queries and appending queries. Often you will be using in the real time when you work on any client project. Okay. But let us see in the view tab. Of course, this will also be helpful for you to understand how the things will happening at the backend. Right. So first one, the first option we call it as formula bar. So thing that you are seeing over any transformation that we are doing right in the home tab. Suppose here region that I want to remove this region column. Okay, selected column. I want to remove any column. To remove the column, what you will select? You can go to the remove column. I don't want the region. Click on remove column. The region column is removed, right? It is one step is writing at the back end. So and you can see the formula. But when you go to the view tab, by default, this formula bar will be enabled. But if you disable this, see that formula, that you can see the transformation at the back end, how the formula is executing. You will not able to see it because you have unticked, you have disabled that formula bar. But when you enable the formula bar again, you can see how the back end of formula is executing. So as a best practice, 100% that you need to enable your formula bar, because you can able to see how the query is executing at the back end. Now next one, monospaced. What is the meaning of the monospace and what is the meaning of show white space? So in order to understand this, show white space is very important. It is also automatically ticked over here. To understand this, let us create one table manually. So in the yesterday's class, we have discussed how to create the manual table. In order to create the manual table, you can click on this data called as enter data. With the help of this enter data, you can create some manual tables. So you can create the name and you can create the mobile number. So Janardhan, I'm giving, this is Janardhan, and mobile number I'm giving something. But in the second, I will give a lot of space over here. For this also, I'm giving a lot of spaces over here. And I will type it as Manoma. I will also give a lot of spaces and try to go okay. So for the table name, just I will mention it as contact info. Just click on OK. So a table is created by the name called as contacting. See, contact. See, when you see this particular data, it is clearly visible, right? So Janardhan 869 here. Here you can see there are a lot of spaces over here you can find. But when I go to the view tab, I untick this. I'm not able to see whether my data is having like spaces before that. It looks very uniform. You can see you don't have. But this Janardhan, when you see character length, this will have these characters. But when you show white space, if I want count the characters, if it is of 9 or 10 characters, these characters will go on 20 because I have given 10 spaces before that. And every space will be considered as a character in as per the computer language. So if I untick this, just Janardhan, this Amano, this is not both same because the number of the characters are different. How you can able to see this? When I click on the show white space only, I can able to see that. But if you forget to untick this, you can see by looking at this particular data, you cannot see how many characters are there. To find any extra spaces are there or not. To find the extra spaces, you have an option called show white space. When it as a default, as a best practice, you need to show the white space because you can see whether there are some extra spaces which are there and which are present in that particular data. Okay, that is called space. And there is another option called monospaced. So if you want all the columns in particular data, it's just because some are stored in different format, some are stored in Calibri, some stored in different format or italic. If you want to see your data in monospaced, and that means uniform in a single format, you can click on monospaced. So if I remove this show white space and click on monospace, see, all the data will be from in some uniform style. Okay, Janardhan, it will be. So that is called monospace. But nobody is worried about that style. This option, of course, as an internal purpose, it will always use of monospace mean it will assign only unique style to all the characters which are there in the particular column. That's it. But if you untick, if it is default, monospace is not enabled, okay, is not active, it's not a problem. But it is by default you need to keep the show space active because you can able to find if there any extra space in the particular data. Okay, that's now there is an option called as column quality. Okay, see we have seen like in a particular data here you have a clean data that means but sometimes your data may contain errors. So if you want to see how many valid records are there, how many error records are there, if you want to check your column whether how many valid records, how many duplicates or how many errors are there, if you want to see that by data, if you want to check the quality of the column, then you can go for the column quality. Check the column quality. See, you can see how many valid records are there. Valid 100%. Errors, you don't have any error records are there and you don't have any empty records. So this column is clean because it contains all valid records with no errors, error percentage 0 and empty is 0. If suppose if you insert any some blank values manually, it will show the empty percent is 2 or 3%. Or if you manually insert some errors instead of that, it will show how much percentage of errors are there. So to check the valid records, to check the error records, to check the empty records in your column, in order to check your column quality, that valid records, error records, empty characters, how much percentage is there in that particular column, you will go for this column quality. Now there is an option called as column distribution. What is meant by column distribution? It will help you to understand how many distinct and unique values are there in your particular column. Or how many distinct values and how many unique values. So if I select, if I uncheck this column quality and click on column distribution. So every column, it will show how many distinct values and how many unique values are there. Okay, how many distinct and unique values are there. So when you come to here quantity columns or it may be sales, out of this 98, 908 distinct and we had 43 unique values are there. 12 distinct values and 0 unique values are there. So what is the difference between distinct and unique? You need to understand. So in order to understand this distinct and unique, I will try to open one Excel because this question will often asked in the interview, and in interview will often confuse you. What is the difference between distinct and unique? Okay. Most of the people will say distinct and unique both are same, and instead of answering what is unique and distinct, the people are often confusing. So let us make clear in when you open the Excel, it will become easy for you to understand what is it. Now, suppose I have South region. I'm taking North, East, West. When you look at the South, I have the cards. When I look at the North, I have. When I look at the East, now they will ask how many distinct values are there and how many unique values are there. So to find the distinct means if the value is repeating many times, like if the value is repeating 3 times, so it will count only as one. Instead, if the value is repeating, South is repeating 3 times, you will consider that as only one unique value. If the North is repeating how many times? 4 times. North is repeating how many times? It is repeating some 4 times. We will consider that as. If the East is repeating how many times? Like this many times that you have repeated. You will consider. West is repeating C. But West, if in a particular column, if any record is present only single time, then you will consider that as unique record. Here, South is not considered as a unique record. North is not considered as a unique record. East is not considered as a unique record because it is repeating more than one. If it in a particular column, if the record will be repeated only once, if you find the record only once, we call it as unique. Distinct means if the record is present, the South, if it is repeated 3 times. But how many distinct you will consider only as one for this. If the North is repeated this many times, if the North is repeated like four times, you will consider for that one only. One distinct record only. Even it is East is repeating for many times like this, but you will consider only one for that. So here you can, for your final answer is I have 3 distinct records and I will have one unique record. The 3 distinct records are South, North, and East. And the unique record is there is only one unique record. That unique record is West. Why this is very good. Right. So that is the distance between. To find how many unique records are there. So when you click on this column tool, you can able to find it will display. Now this is very surprising. It contains 1,000 unique and 1,000 distinct. Now I will ask you a simple question: how many distinct and how many? Does the distinct and unique records will have same for any particular data? So for this record, this is so funny. Yeah. You can see the row ID, right? In this row ID, what is the meaning of row ID? In the row IDs, it will have the unique numbers only. No word will be repeated. So in that condition for row ID, if there are values where they are not repeated, so I have a count 1 to 100. Okay, 1 to 100. I am not repeating any words, just 1 to 100. I am writing in the continuous one. So if I ask you how many distinct records are there, no value is repeated, so it will have 100 distinct records. And if I ask how many unique records, 1 to 100 I have written without missing anything. So in that condition, the distinct and unique value will remain same. Because what is meant by distinct? If there are no duplicates are there, then we can call it as distinct. Unique means if the value is present only once, you will have. For a row ID, the number of duplicate, the number of unique records and the number of distinct records same. That's why it is showing 1000 unique and 1000. Okay. But order ID 479 distinct. That means 479 you have duplicates because some products will be added twice or thrice. For everything you have generate order. But there are 226 products, they have ordered only once. Only once. That order ID 226 will be unique mean. Suppose you have think that US 2015 10896. This will be present. Think it as if it is unique record, it will present appear only once. Again, it will not appear anywhere. Think. Then that considers a unique. Okay. This is how to find the distinct and unique records. How many distinct and unique records are there? That helps will column distribution will help. Now there is one option called as if I remove this column distribution, there is let me go to one column called as sales column. Now if I want to click on column profile, if you click on the column profile, it will profile your entire column. So if I click on sales column and click on column profile, it will show what is the minimum value in that record, what is the maximum value in the record, what is the average of record, how many distinct values are there, how many unique values are there, what is standard deviation, what is the minimum, maximum, everything. It will profile all the information which is related to this particular column and it will give the data. You can see the column profile. See, count, how many counts, 1000 are there, error, no errors, there are no empty records, how many distinct values are there, how many unique records are there, how many zero values are there, what is the minimum value in that particular record, what is the maximum value in that particular record, what is the average value in that particular record, and what is the standard deviation. Just if you click on the product name also, in the product name, see count, errors, empty, distinct, unique values, how many empty strings are there. Okay. So this is how you can able to see this. Okay. Right. So this is how you will see the data. Okay. And we'll close this session and tomorrow we'll be able to continue with the rest of the class. Okay. Thank you.